makes us different, said by Anne Rice. Race, gender, personality. Society does not like when people are different or when people stand out. Many people are discriminated due to those three main things because they are what make us an individual and what makes us different from others. Every person is special in their own way, and just because society tells us that we need to dress in a certain way or act in a certain way or just be a certain person doesn't mean that we have to follow that. Racism, sexism, and bad opinions is what we get for just trying to be ourselves. Ever since the beginning of time, everyone has wanted to be above other people. To fulfill this, many people have decided that some things were better than others. For example, like blacks were better than whites, or a man is better than a woman, or humans are better than animals. Some things are better than others just so people could be higher. And these are some of the ways that people have tried to pass others in the hierarchy of society. In the past, it was believed that African Americans, they weren't humans, they were slaves. They were the lowest of them all. They were bought and sold by people, and they were treated as items. They would do any work that they were told, and they always got beat up. There was a concept called segregation, where white people and black people couldn't even use the same things, and they couldn't even go to the same places. Like, there were signs that were put up that said only whites or only blacks. They couldn't even use the same water fountains, and they couldn't go to the same schools. They couldn't go to the same libraries. They always had to use the worst quality of an item, and the whites would use like the most perfect or the most fixed up. They always had to sit at the backs of buses, and they only got the worst quality of everything. Many thought that they didn't even deserve education, so they didn't allow them to go to school, and so they forced them to be illiterate. All of this just because they were a different skin color. They were still human, and they still deserved everything that everyone else does. Just because their skin color is different doesn't mean that they are evil or they're bad. And society needs to accept this. They need to know that even if you're different, that doesn't mean that you're bad. And people, they don't only look at skin color, but they also discriminate against gender. Another way to be above others. Women were treated in the harshest ways in the past, and still in the present. There are laws against women trying to just be equal. In many countries, they can't dress in the way that they want, or they can't even go into public without a man. In history, they have fought to be equally treated as a man and have had many successes. For example, women used to not be able to vote, but they protested and they rioted, and finally the 19th Amendment was passed on the 4th of June in 1919. We used to not be able to get credit cards without a man's signature. But then the Equal Credit Opportunity Act was passed in 1974. We were not allowed to serve on the military, but then Congress passed the Women's Armed Service Integration Act in 1948. Even though there have been this many successes, the gender equality crisis is not over yet. Another way people like to discriminate and be above others is by the way you are, or your personality, and what you like to wear, or what you like to do as like hobbies. If you do something that isn't acceptable by society, then everybody frowns upon you. If you don't go to college after high school, or be married by the time you're 26 or 28, and have 2 kids by the age of 32, then you're seen as a failure. You're seen that you're late. even though there's no time frame for life or what yours should look like. What others think that is bad about others. When others think bad about others, it brings them down and they begin to feel like they're late or they can't accomplish anything. But just because you get married late doesn't mean that you're never going to accomplish anything in your life. And just because one person's life path is different than the others doesn't mean that they're not successful. All in all, being different does not make you bad. It makes you your own person. It makes you your own individual. And just because society says it's incorrect to act in a certain way does not mean that we have to change ourselves. And one of the only reasons people do this is to be at the top of this social hierarchy scale.
Cool.